God is being read, so we can stand with me this evening. In the first chapter of the book of Joshua, at the 9th verse, these words are found. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. I would like to tag this text with this thought: inward strength for the outward journey. Inward strength for the outward journey. You may be seated. Fair word, sir. Inward strength for the outward journey. Dearly beloved, what do you do in this life when it seems that all your strength and all your courage is gone? How do you carry on day after day when you wake up morning after morning and you feel weak and as if life has just weighed you down? Where do you find the vitality and the vigor to carry on when it appears that everything and everyone that surrounds you does nothing but get on your last nerve and stress you out? Help us. Who do you turn to when your strength and courage levels look to be on empty? In other words, my brothers and sisters, I'm asking you, how do you deal with life's everyday struggles? When we face challenges that seem too daunting to overcome, where can we find the strength and the courage to press forward? I believe that we find Joshua asking himself these types of questions in our text for this evening. We have stopped by this first chapter of Joshua in order to retrieve some answers to these questions that are weighing on our heart. As we arrived at our text this evening, we have found and we have intruded on the Lord giving charge and instructions to Joshua. I cannot help but to think this had to be an emotional conversation for Joshua. Think back, Joshua's mentor, Moses, has just died. Moses was his teacher, Moses was his mentor, and Moses was his leader. And now Moses is gone. And on top of that, Joshua has been recently introduced as the leader of the Israelite tribes. It would appear, if we look at Joshua's resume, that the Lord has chosen the perfect candidate. If you were to review Joshua's resume, you would find that he is a military, political, and spiritual leader. He could also be considered a battlefield genius, especially when it came to careful planning, strategy, and execution. You see, Joshua ranks among the greats. Joshua was known all over as a trooper and a soldier. But although Joshua can be found on the front line of any battle, this fierce, rugged battlefield genius is not exempt from emotions. I also expect that Joshua is emotional because he's simply in the presence of God. Joshua has made it through depressing death and an appalling appointment. And now Joshua is communing with the Lord. This is the same Lord that brought the Israelites through the Red Sea. This is the same Lord that brought them up to Mount Sinai to receive the law. This is the same Lord that brought them across the wilderness, and now it is this same Lord that has brought them to the edge of the promised land. And even though Joshua has seen and experienced the Lord doing all of this, Joshua does not seem to be overwhelmed with excitement. In fact, Joshua seemed to be wrapped in fear. If you take a step back with me to verses 6 and 7 in this first chapter, that is where Joshua's fear is first sensed. Joshua, this fierce warrior and competitor, has to be charged 3 different times to do the same thing before we get to this 9th verse. Over and over again, Joshua had to be reminded to be strong and be courageous. So I ask, what's going on with Joshua? The Lord has brought you thus far. Why are you acting scared now? Did the Lord not promise you that he will protect you from the east to the west, from the north to the south? Joshua, did not the Lord promise that he will be with you every step of the way? And did not the Lord also tell you that the Lord will be with you just as the Lord was with Moses? Was Joshua scared that the Lord was done providing for him? Or did Joshua fear rejection or personal inadequacy? But instead of skipping over Joshua's fear this evening, it is in Joshua's fear that we are able to receive some lessons about the effects of abnormal fear. In order to overcome fear, you must first realize the beast that you are dealing with. The first lesson that we are taught is that fear can be damaging. If you don't mind, look at a neighbor and say damaging. In these days of catastrophic change and uncertainty, it can feel as if damaging fear pursues our every footstep. Fear of what life may bring encourages some persons to wander aimlessly along the road that leads to excessive drinking or sexual immorality. Damaging. Many people have permitted fear to transform the sunrise of love and peace into a sunset of inner depression. That's damaging. Fear can damage us emotionally and be psychologically destructive. Fear has already destroyed many people's dreams and aspirations, and it has crippled their ability to be mentally and physically free. But you see, not only is fear damaging, it is also distracting. Fear is what can take your eyes off of the prize. In case you don't believe me, let's go talk to Peter. It was not until Peter was distracted by fear that he began to sink into the waters of the Sea of Galilee. Maybe the story of Peter is too far back from you. Maybe we need to come up to the 21st century. Fear is what causes police officers to be distracted by the pigmentation in our skin instead of the potential in our lives. Fear is distracting. Similar to Peter and modern day police officers, fear seemed to distract Joshua. I must admit something to all you before we move on past this. I have to be honest with all of you. My pastor always told me, he said, honesty is always good for the soul, but it may not be good for the reputation. And so when I sifted through this text for the very first time, I looked at Joshua and thought, Joshua, I can't even be mad at you. I looked at Joshua's situation and I just could not help but to understand his fear. Maybe some of you are too high, too holy to stand with me and admit that you've had some times in your life where you've questioned what was going on around you.
Yes, sir.
But it can be argued that we all have a reason to be fearful. When looking at this Joshua text through a 21st century lens, I found myself thinking, how dare God? How dare God tell us to be strong and courageous in the midst of all the things that are going on in our world? How dare God tell us to be strong and courageous when our world is in such terrible shape? I know that there are some of those that admit that they never experienced what Joshua was feeling, but I must admit that there are times in my life where my strength and courage run low.
Yes, sir.
I must admit that there are times in my life that it seems that this strong pursuit is my personal scenario. There are times where I see that all that is going on around me is higher than what is inside of me. I tell you, there are times where the strength and courage that is within does not seem to carry me through the situations that are going on around me. When the Islamic State in Iraq and Levant are publicly dissecting the bodies of living human beings, my strength and my courage seems to run low. When the President of these United States is being used and abused by Congress, my strength and my courage run a little low. My strength and courage run low when the same people that are first in line to vote are the last in line to receive benefits. When young boys and young girls in Delaware are poisoned by cocaine and heroin and little pieces of candy, my strength and my courage run low. When it appears to me that a particular Ebola experimental drug is only used on those that do not have a direct connection with Africa, my strength and my courage run a little low. When the stand your ground law seems to be snatching the lives of young boys and girls, my strength and my courage run a little low. When I see the educational achievement gap and the healthcare gap back in my hometown, my strength and my courage. I tell you, when preachers go from acting prophetic to acting pathetic, there are times where my strength and my courage seems to be gone.
Jesus.
Due to this reason, I had to question if it is even possible to consider the idea of being strong and being courageous in this 21st century. Even though my questioning sent me on a long journey, I still have hope that we are able to be filled of strength and courage. As we continue to dig deeper, I tell you that there are some good news. There is some good news. There is some good news in the text for this evening. Although Joshua's fear was damaging, and although Joshua's fear was distracting, I'm so thankful that the Lord did not allow it to be detrimental. I said that Joshua's fear was distracting. It was damaging, but the Lord did not allow it to be detrimental. Each and every one of us possesses the ability to view certain fear as irrelevant. 2 Timothy reminds us that God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and self-control. This scripture tells me that fear is not innate to our essential nature. In case scripture is not enough to convince some of you here this evening, why don't we go to the realm of psychology? Psychologists say that normal children are born with only 2 fears. When a child is first born, they have only 2 fears. That is the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. And that all other fears are environmentally acquired. You see, normal fears are meant to protect us, but abnormal fears paralyze us. Normal fear motivates us to improve our individual and collective welfare. Abnormal fear constantly poisons and distorts our inner lives. We must find a way to harness and to master each and every one of our fears. My sisters and my brothers, although this text was not written directly to us, we know that Joshua and the Lord are conversing here. I submit to you that the Lord is speaking for us. God is speaking for us in order to supply us with the keys to unlock these chains of fear. I'm telling you, fear seems like it's so commonplace. As we see in this text, it seems that when individuals are faced with God's call and purpose for their lives, often they are confronted with the fear of fulfillment. When your life's purpose is revealed to you and you are charged with the divine duty, how will you react? When the job says they can't pay you millions of dollars, but you know this is what you're supposed to do, how will you respond? I'm telling you, realizing the potential for these fears, the Lord provides Joshua with only 2 instructions. The Lord gives him 2 instructions. The first instruction that Joshua is given is to be strong. The Lord tells Joshua to be strong. In my minimal 20 years of life, I have come to realize that we are in need of some strong people.
Yes, sir.
I'm not talking about in the gym, weightlifting strong. I'm talking about some strength that comes from the inside. I'm talking about an internal strength.
Yes, sir.
We are in need of some people that are willing to go through some struggles, some people that are willing to go through some heartache, and some people that are willing to go through some pain simply for the sake of equality. I'm talking about some people that are willing to be talked about and ostracized for the sake of justice.
Jesus.
I'm talking about some people that are able to be beat, locked up, knocked down, but have the ability to regroup and reestablish themselves. We are in need of some strong individuals that are willing and able to fight on the battlefield of education. We need some people that are willing to be strong and fight on the battlefield of politics. We are in need of some people that are fueled with a desire to fight on the already bloody battlefield of civil rights, to ensure that people are being treated fairly, with respect, and with dignity. You see, don't always seek the easiest road in your lives. Don't always seek the roads less traveled. I encourage each and every one of you to take pleasure in your weaknesses, and in the insults, and in the hardships, in the persecutions, and in the troubles, and even in the suffering. For it is through those moments that the Christ within each and every one of us is made stronger. It is our outward struggles that are preparing our inward strength for the outward journey. I believe that if Howard Thurman were to walk in here tonight and stop by and talk to each and every one of you, he would put it this way. He said, whether we bow our knee before an altar or spend our days in the delusions of our own significance, the unalterable picture remains the same. All experience strips us of much except our sheer strength of mind and of spirit. All experience reveals that upon these we must not finally depend. Brooding over us and about us, even in the shadows of the paradise, there is something more. There is, beloved, I think that it is very possible to obtain the strength that we are talking about. Let's just look at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King endured great hardships in his lifetime. But there existed a strength within him that caused him to march with nonviolence. And inner strength is what will allow each and every one of us to be peaceful when others want to be angry. It is that inner strength that will cause us to be polite when others want to be rude. It is that inner strength that causes us to love when all everybody wants to do is hate. I'm telling you, there's an inward strength for each and every one of you. This strength is something that will carry you not only through the A, B, C, but this will carry you throughout your entire life. I'll tell you, the songwriter put it this way: there is something within that holdeth the rain. There is something within that banishes all the pain. There is something within each and every one of us that we just cannot explain. You see, I am convinced that the Lord wanted Joshua to be strong, and the Lord also desires for each and every one of us to be strong, because we have already been equipped with all that we need on the inside. But not only was Joshua charged to be strong, but also in order for Joshua to master his fear, the Lord had to remind him to be courageous. Be courageous. According to the dictionary, courage is the quality of mind or spirit that enables a person to face difficulty, danger, and pain without fear. If you ask James Neal Hollingsworth, he will tell you courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than fear. If Martin Luther King were to come by King Chapel tonight, courage is an inner resolution to go forward despite obstacles. Thomas Aquinas will tell you that courage is the strength of mind capable of conquering whatever threatens the attainment of the highest good. I bet if Paul Tillich were to stop by, he would tell you, and he would articulate that courage is self-affirmation, in spite of that which tends to hinder the self from affirming itself. If you were to catch me on Brown Street, if you were to catch Christopher McCroy out on the street, and you would ask me, what is courage? I might tell you that courage isn't the absence of fear, but courage is going on in spite of fear. Or I might tell you that courage is the power of life to affirm itself in spite of life's ambiguities. In our text, it seemed as if Joshua was running low on courage. It seemed as if Joshua was too busy focusing on the dangers and misfortunes of life that were behind him and all around him, instead of focusing on the Spirit of God that was working through, around, and as him. I understand that trouble is a reality in this strange medley of life. I know that dangers lurk within the circumference of every action. I realize that accidents do in fact occur. Evil and pain in this life are close to each and every one of us. I am not attempting this evening to do any of you or any of us the disservice of trying to prove that there is nothing in this world of which we should not be frightened. Rather, I am saying that it is vital that we meet these forces that threaten to negate life with the force of courage. For when courage faces fear, it masters it. Courageous men and women never lose the zest for living, even though their life situation may seem senseless. It is our responsibility to build levees of courage to restrain the flood of fear that plagues our world. Even when the verdicts do not turn out the way we expect them to, we must continue to fight against the injustice that lies within the courtrooms. When state and national leaders are acting with everything except courage to be courageous. I close, and as I go to my seat, I want to leave you with a story, and then I will send you on your way.
Tell a story.
One time, when I was back home, I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. You heard Brother David say this earlier. Thank you for the clap. Shout out to Omaha. And one time, in a Sunday school class, this teacher came in. She came in and she set this dummy doll off in the corner. And we were like, what is she doing? So she got this doll. The doll, you know, the one with the round bottom, the rubber doll that they hit and it comes back up again. She put one of those off in the corner. And as every student walked in the room, she said, I have an activity for you. I want you to go and I want you to get all your strength and all that you have and go hit the dummy doll. I want you to go hit it with all that you have and knock it down.
We invite you to join the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel Assistants every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. for services in King Chapel. Gather with us on Thursdays at 5:30 p.m. for Theological Table Talk in the Lucian Tobin Library. Till we gather again, God be with you.